Now, what if I told you that staying consistent has a lot less to do with willpower than we have been led to believe? But here's a better question. Why do so many experts keep telling us to push harder, be more disciplined, when the real reason most people struggle is much deeper than that? I had to ask myself that same question after falling back into some old habits, even after more than a decade of eating clean and staying on track. But here's a question that really changed things for me. What if everything I have believed about discipline, habits, and self control is all wrong? So I put it to the test. I went from slipping back into old habits every time life got difficult to staying on track even when the season got rough without relying on willpower. So stick around to the end because I'm going to share 3 reasons willpower isn't your primary problem and a real thing that has been holding you back. So I really thought I had it all together. Whenever someone asks me how you manage to stay consistent for so long, I would say mindset. But I started questioning that when I started taking care of my grandmother. She eats different than I do, which meant preparing 2 separate meals, one for her and then one for me. This added a whole new layer of stress and pressure that I wasn't used to. Now, on days when I felt tired or stretched thin, I would reach for whatever was easiest. Sometimes a pack of biscuit from her pantry, even though I knew gluten didn't agree with me. It wasn't because I was lazy, or it wasn't because I suddenly didn't care. It was because I was under some extra stress. I was in a new environment, surrounded by new temptation, and facing a number of challenges that I never had to deal with before. And that's when I realized it's not just about willpower. And I think we all can agree that when we are stressed, emotionally triggered, or fatigued, we tend not to make the best decisions because our tolerance level is a lot lower. So it's not surprising that many of us fall back into bad habits during that time. Because when you're under stress, the emotional part of your brain is what takes over. So it's not thinking about the long-term goals or your future you or your dream habits, what you're trying to build or how proud you will feel within the next 6 months. All it's asking, how can I feel better now? Your brain is built to find the fastest, easiest way to get relief. It's simply doing what it's designed to do, protect you from discomfort as quickly as possible. Now, the problem is that we haven't made a better choice easy or satisfying. And because of that, the brain remember how you used to feel when you ate junk food, the boost that it gave you, how late scrolling gave you a temporary escape. So your brain at that point is not thinking about the best solution. It's just thinking about the easiest escape. And that's why when life gets heavy, willpower alone will never be enough. So I know a lot of you might be walking this journey alone. Maybe the people in your household aren't on the same page. Maybe you're trying to eat differently, live differently, think differently. Well, everyone around you is stuck in their own ways. This might mean that you have to cook 2 separate meals because of the 2 different lifestyles. And I can tell you for a fact that's exhausting. Your environment is so much more powerful than your willpower. You can have all the best intentions in the world. You can be motivated, focused, and determined. But if you're consistently surrounded by temptation, stress, and old triggers, it's like trying to swim against the current every single day. So eventually it will wear you down because it's not sustainable. So it's important that you recognize that even the strongest person will eventually get tired when the environment is constantly pulling them in the opposite direction. If your surroundings don't support the person you are trying to become, staying consistent will always feel like an uphill battle. So I think the biggest challenge with living with my grandmother is not that her way of living takes me, but that our views are conflicting. So for example, she loved to use herbicides. And when I was working in the garden a few years back, we were always back and forth about her spraying. Because I'm more concerned about how it's going to impact the environment, my garden, our health, and she's more concerned about getting rid of the weeds. So the compromise that was made is that she didn't spray in my garden area. So I feel like issues like these can either make or break a relationship. So I think it's in your best interest to get a third party involved to help guide you through this process. Because your environment is so important that you need to get this part right. You need an environment that supports you. And I think the best way of doing that is to make that investment to get necessary help so that you can come to a workable solution. So I don't want you to think that I believe willpower is not important. It's real, it's important, but it's like a muscle. And like any muscle, it can get tired. You might start the day feeling strong, motivated, and ready to stick to your goals. But after a long, stressful day, dealing with work pressures, family responsibilities, unexpected problems, you know what happens? your willpower gets worn down. So by the time evening comes, the muscle that was helping you stay disciplined earlier is already stretched thin. And guess what? Making the right choices then feels like 10 times harder. So if you want to make sticking to your habits easier, you have to start designing your environment for success. Set up your space, your routine, and your daily flow to remove friction and make the right choices easier. The environment you live in either pulls you towards the person you want to be or drives you back to the person you're trying to leave behind. So the next issue I want to talk about is a decline in motivation. It is completely normal for your motivation to drop after a few weeks or a month into your journey. Why? Because motivation doesn't run on autopilot. Your brain needs a reason to act. That reason is connected to something called dopamine, which is a chemical that helps you feel good about taking action. So here's a challenge. When a task feels too big or when you don't see results fast enough, your brain starts to say, cha, this is too hard, or why bother? And when that happens, your dopamine drops and so does your energy. That's why it's so dangerous to use visible results like, for example, numbers on a scale as the only indicator of your success. If you're only focused on changes that happen on the outside, you will start to feel like you're falling behind because things are moving slower than you expect, even as real progress is happening underneath. Because it's a lot easier to measure what's happening on the outside, but not necessarily changes that are happening inwards, like an increase in confidence. You're thinking clear. You're sleeping better. But the hard part is that when motivation drops, you tend to procrastinate. You put off things because you're waiting till you feel the hype again to take action. And what makes it even worse is that we like to start a bunch of hard things all at once. So, for example, you want to wake up early in the morning, exercise, make breakfast, prep for lunch, and still stay positive all day. And all that can make you overwhelmed very fast. So once you understand how dopamine works, you can take measures to protect and rebuild your motivation. So here are a few tips to consider. I want to focus on small wins. So things that you can easily complete to help give you the motivation to progress to the next level. So for example, focusing on drinking water throughout the day or starting your morning with prayer. Those small wins boost your dopamine levels. Also make it easier to make the healthy choice. When you do that, then that also increases your wins for the day and hence your motivation. There are small things you can do like cold showers, taking a walk, being in the morning sunlight. Those things help to boost your dopamine level and help it remain consistent throughout the day. You want to be careful about stacking your words. I know we talk a lot about celebrating wins, but you don't need something external like a cake or a party every time you meet a milestone. Yes, something to celebrate, but you don't want your brain to be dependent on that to help motivate you to move to the next level. Because after a time, those things will not motivate you as much. It will require more effort, external rewards to push you forward. And the other aspect of that, try to avoid using so much stimulation to do hard tasks. Say, for example, a workout. I know a lot of people play music or hype up themselves just to get a workout complete. And so you need to be careful with that because that is training your brain that you need this extra stimulation to get hard tasks done. You can do it sometimes, but other times try to just do the workout and enjoy the process as opposed to depending so much on the external stuff to get you moving. You want to get in the habit of recognizing your accomplishment. Train yourself to be your own cheerleader. So as you are making progress, you are commending yourself. And so that internal motivation is more impactful than trying to depend on the external motivation. And if you have children, you know what I'm talking about. Because our children grow up in an age where they're on technology all the time. Just doing normal tasks can feel boring. I remember taking a walk with my nephew, and I remember, well, I thought we were having a good time. And then all of a sudden, he's rushing to go home. I didn't realize he was going home to go back on his tablet to play a game. So that you want to try to avoid. It might not necessarily look the same way as how your child reacts, but just depending on that stimulation all the time to motivate can be very dangerous. So the last aspect I want to talk about is identity conflict. So as deep down inside, you still see yourself as a person who struggles, It doesn't matter how much you progress, your mind would eventually pull you back to match your true identity, unless you're actively reshaping it. So what is identity conflict? Identity conflict happens when the new habit you're trying to build, like eating better, exercising more, staying disciplined, doesn't line up with how you see yourself inside. Your identity is essentially the story you tell yourself about you every single day. Let's deep down inside, you still believe you're someone who failed or is not consistent. Your brain will find a way to drag you back into the old habit, even when it looks like you're actually doing everything right on the surface. Remember, identity drives behavior. So if you want to change, you have to shift your identity. Your brain is wired to protect your sense of who you are. So it will always try to stay consistent with the story you believe about yourself, even if your story is outdated, harmful, or holding you back. That's crazy. That's why people often self-sabotage right when they're finally making real progress. If your action says, I'm disciplined, but your self-talk still says, I'm a mess, I never stick to anything, your brain feels that tension and quietly start pulling you back towards the version of you that is most familiar. But you can train your brain to believe the new version of you. It means being consistent. And that's why I say small habits. If you can be consistent with small habits every single day, that becomes evidence that you are changing. And that reinforces the story that you are becoming a different person. The more small wins you can start, the stronger your new identity becomes. And so over time, your subconscious starts to pull you forward instead of pulling you back. So visualization is another powerful way to shift your identity. You can have a vision board where you put images represent where you want to be in the next few months or years. So that every single day you are reinforcing that this is who I am. The clearer that picture is in your mind, that mental image, the easier it is for you to shift towards that direction. And I can tell you for a fact, this is what helped me keep on track, even though sometimes I make slip. Because I have a view of myself that I'm a person that eats healthy, for example. It's very hard to stick on healthy habits. So I might probably do it 1 or 2 times, but after a while, it's like, this is not who I am. And so you find yourself, realigning your actions to match the person who you believe you are. And because of how I am viewed by other persons, that reinforces the image that I am a healthy person, a person that is consistent, that makes choices in the best interest of my health. So I took a lot of time to explain what actually affects us internally, how the body works. Because if you have an understanding of how the body works, then you can make more informed decisions. So like I said, it's not only about willpower, but there's a number of aspects to it. So once you're able to master these different areas, I can guarantee you that you will be a person that is consistent in your health journey. I want you to check the link in the description to get my free ebook, Build Better Habits, Build a Better Business. This is designed to help entrepreneurs create better habits that support their energy, health, and real life.